So, today's fairy tale will be The Devil and His Grandmother. There once was a great war, and the king, who had many soldiers, paid his men so poorly that they could not live on their wages. 3 of his soldiers got together, therefore, and planned to desert. 2 began talking, and one said to the other, "If we're caught, they'll hang us in the gallows. So what do you think we should do?" "Do you see the large wheat field over there?" the other said. "Well, if we hide in it, nobody will ever find us. The army's not allowed to set foot in there, and we'll be moving on tomorrow." So they crept into the wheat field, but the army did not move on. It remained right where it was. The 3 soldiers had to sit for 2 nights and 2 days in the wheat field and were practically dying of hunger. Yet, if they had gone out into the open, it would have meant certain death for them. Finally, they said, "What's the sense of deserting if we have to die a miserable death?" Just then a fiery dragon came flying through the air, dived down towards the field, and asked them why they were hiding there. "We're 3 soldiers," they said, "and we've deserted because our pay was so poor. Now we'll die of hunger if we stay here, or we'll swing from the gallows if we leave." "Well, if you'll serve me for 7 years," said the dragon, "I'll take you right through the middle of the army, and you won't be caught." "Since we have no other choice, we'll accept your offer," they responded. Then the dragon grabbed them with his claws, carried them away through the sky over the army, and set them down on the ground again far away enough from the wheat field. The dragon, however, was none other than the devil, and he gave them a little whip and said, "All you have to do is crack and snap this whip in the air, and you'll have all the money you'll ever need dancing about you. Indeed, you'll be able to live like great lords, keep horses, and drive around in carriages. But at the end of 7 years, you'll be mine." Upon saying this, he took out a book and placed it in front of them. They all had to sign their names in agreement. "But," he added, "before you're finally mine, I'll give you a riddle. If you solve it, you'll be free, and I'll have no power over you." Then the dragon flew away, and the 3 soldiers began their journey with their little whip. They always had money, ordered the finest clothes to be made for them, and traveled around the world. Wherever they were, they lived joyously and splendidly. They drove around with horses in a carriage, ate and drank, but did no evil. The time went by quickly for them. When the 7 years were drawing to an end, 2 of them became extremely anxious. But the 3rd one took it lightly and said, "Brothers, don't worry. I'm nobody's fool. I'll guess the riddle." They all went out into the fields where they sat down, 2 of them with gloomy faces. Then an old woman came along and asked them why they were so sad. "Oh, what's it to you? You can't help us." "Who knows?" she answered. "Just tell me your troubles." So they told her that they had been the devil's servants for almost 7 years, and he had supplied them with money as though it were water. However, they had signed their lives over to him and would become his if they could not solve a riddle after the 7 years were up. "If you want some help," the old woman said, "then one of you must go into the forest, where he'll find a cliff that's caved in and looks like a hut. He must enter the hut, and there he'll find help." "That won't save us," thought the 2 sad ones, and they remained seated, while the cheerful one set out on his way and went deep into the forest until he found the rock hut. Inside he found a very old woman sitting there, who was the devil's grandmother. She asked him where he had come from and what he wanted. He told her everything that had happened, and since she found him very pleasing, she took pity on him and said that she would help him. She lifted a large stone that concealed the entrance to a cellar and said, "Hide down here, and you'll be able to hear everything that's said here. Sit still and don't move. When the dragon comes, I'll ask him about the riddle. He tells me everything. So pay attention to what he says." At midnight the dragon came flying home and demanded his dinner. The grandmother set the table and brought food and drink. This made him happy, and they ate and drank together. During their conversation, she asked him how his day had been and how many souls he had captured. "I wasn't particularly lucky today," he answered, "but I've got 3 soldiers lined up for sure." "Oh, 3 soldiers," she said. "They're tough individuals. They might still get away from you." "They're mine," responded the devil scornfully. "I'm going to ask them a riddle that they'll never be able to solve." "What kind of riddle?" she asked. "Let me tell you. There's a dead monkey lying in the great North Sea. That will be their roast. A whale's rib will be their silver spoon, and an old hollow horse's hoof will be their wine glass. When the devil had gone to bed, the old grandmother lifted the stone and let the soldier out. "Did you pay close attention to everything?" "Yes," he said. "I know enough now to take care of things." After saying this, he had to leave by a different way. He went stealthily through a window and rushed back to his companions. He told them how the devil had been tricked by his old grandmother and he had overheard the solution to the riddle. Now they were all so cheerful and in such good spirits that they took the whip and snapped it in a lively fashion until a great deal of money danced about the ground. When the 7 years were completely up, the devil came with the book and showed them their signatures and said, "I'm going to take you with me to hell, where you'll be given a meal. If you can guess what kind of roast you're going to have, you'll be free and may keep the little whip." The first soldier then began to talk. "In the great North Sea there's a dead monkey. That will probably be the roast." The devil was annoyed and went, and asked the second soldier, "What will be your spoon?" "The rib of a whale will be our silver spoon." The devil made a face and muttered, again, and asked the third soldier, "Do you know what your wine glass will be?" "An old horse's hoof will be our wine glass." At that the devil flew away with a loud cry and no longer had power over them. As for the 3 soldiers, they kept the little whip and whipped up as much money as they wanted, and they lived happily until the day of their death. Oh god. I picked this one to go first because it has 3 things I love about reading these old fairy tales. 1, no one ever questions anything weird that happens magic related. Like the dragon shows up and none of the soldiers go, "Whoa, a dragon!" They're like, "Quiet, dragon, we're trying to hide here." It's like, it makes me think of that Far Side comic, Animal Nerds, when one of the wolves comes up to the other wolves that are stalking and go like, "Hey guys, what are you doing?" Like they're frantically trying to shut the dragon up while the rest of the army is looking like, "What's that dragon doing over there?" But that's a running theme in these stories. No one ever questions anything magical, no matter how weird it is. The second thing that I really like that was a theme in these fairy tales was that there are things that are said that make no sense but must have meant something to the people of, Germany. Yeah, the Grimm's brothers were Germany. It's like the roast, there's a monkey floating in the North Sea, our wine glass will be a hoof, and then a whale's rib will be our silver spoon. I mean, that sounds like like someone put words on a dartboard and threw them. But that must have meant something to the people of Germany in the 1600s or 1800s or 1700s. So if anyone actually knows that, let me know, because I'd really like to know what that means. But my favorite running theme in these fairy tales is that the third one is that no one ever comes off poorly when they make a deal with the devil. It never happens. No one has a bad time of it. They make a deal with the devil and then they trick the devil and everyone's happy. He never comes off well. And that seems like a weird thing to put in your fairy tales. Like, make a deal with the devil. Oh, he's an idiot. It'll be fine. Like, man of wealth and taste my foot. He can't even trick 3 soldiers. And why does the devil have a grandmother? I'm not really well-read biblically, but I mean, that seems like something that they would have included in there. Alright, I think that's all I have to say. I really like that one. It's got 3 of my favorite things, and it just makes no sense. And things just happen so abruptly. It's like, there was an old lady here who was the devil's grandmother. Thanks for explaining that. So, I'll post another one of these next week, either another Hyrulean fairy tale or another Madcap fairy tale. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really did. Alright, bye.